We're back with the Screen Team on today's Talk 930 KWOC and 93.3 FM. Remember to check us out on our website at screenteenpb.com. We want to thank our sponsors, Whitworth Gift Chest Jewelers, where Walmart is next door to us, also Poplar, Bluff Drywall, and Fearless Social. Before we get into our next film, Bone Tomahawk, Jamie here is going to be telling us about a little antidote with Silverado, right?
Anecdote. You almost said antidote. Yeah, well, it's just a little aside that I thought was kind of funny. Several years ago, I met a well-known comic writer named Chuck Dixon, who's a self-proclaimed Western fan, and he knows a lot about the Old West and things like that. And he really criticized this movie, saying it wasn't very authentic to what things happened. And, no cowboy would wear tight pants like Kevin Costner was wearing. And it's like, the stuff he was picking apart really seemed kind of superficial. Overall, I mean, so many people that I know are fans of Western really like this movie. So I thought it was odd that somebody that writes comics, and nothing, I'm not picking on him for writing comics. Chuck's written a lot of other stuff too, and I like Chuck Dixon's writing. I just didn't agree with him that Silverado was kind of a fluff movie.
Yeah. So you think you'd like this film, Bone Tomahawk?
Bone Tomahawk? I don't know. That'd be interesting. I don't really keep up with him. I actually have a friend who's buddies with him, who is like in comics, and so I don't know. I should ask Will if he has anything to say about it or whatever, because I don't know if Chuck even has a blog or anything like that.
So what about you? Did you like it?
I did, and to tie it again back into comic peeps, there's a guy named Dan Brereton who's done tons of stuff for Marvel and DC, whatever. He described this as a Western horror film.
Yes,
it is. I was like, yeah, that's pretty apt, you know, and that's how I would describe it to people. It's like, well, it's a Western, but it's kind of like a horror movie, and it's not traditionally, or it's not what has become the traditional horror film these days, but it has those elements, and it's neat how they kind of tied that all together.
To me, it had a very Eli Roth kind of
yes, yeah, it did remind me of like Hostel and things like that. I don't know. I've read some reviews of this film, just general people on the internet and Dan's review of it and things like that, and a lot of the stuff they're saying is things that I kind of was thinking too. It's like, it's not the best shot movie, as far as like the aesthetics or making things look pretty or look a certain way because it's the Old West, and the grittiness kind of works. That it looks like they did it with a hand. Half of it was done with a handheld camera and things like that, but it helps it gets that feel across. It makes it feel like the Old West for sure, but it also adds to that horror element.
So what's the basic premise? It's a pretty straightforward storyline. We have a group of people who live in a small town in the West, and apparently a few people get kidnapped by savages. Is that right?
Yeah, essentially the truest form of savages. That they're so far, back in like the Stone Age, I guess you'd say, that even another Indian calls them troglodytes, So, and that's pretty simple life form, and when you meet them on the screen, they seem to just be only concerned with, hunt, kill, whatever, survive kind of thing. So,
all right, Jamie liked it. Jake, did you like it?
I did like it. I thought it kind of had some slow spots, but I actually enjoyed kind of the quiet time of the movie when it had the little slower stuff, and it just was very atmospheric.
It kind of made once the action and those scenes started, it made that have a little more impact.
Yeah,
to me,
for real. And I really do like that at the beginning of the movie, they give you a kind of a blurry introduction to what's going to be your main antagonist in the movie, but you really don't get a good look. It just kind of like, well, it just looks like an Indian or a Native American.
Yeah.
They might just be kind of messed up, just might really hate white people. I don't know. But then you've got the ominous whistling noise or the howling noise, and not really to spoil anything, but what they do really well in this film is it's an unseen antagonist for most of the movie. And that it's a really good setup, and they're just saying that you've got these four old Westerners heading out to
try to save the
day and fight something. They have no idea what it looks like. They do not know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're going to be dealing with, and they have their scuffs along the way that are totally unrelated to their common enemy.
Yeah.
So I think it does really well. And then as the end of the film, even once you get full into the point where you're having your face-to-face battle with the savages, then you've got another 15, 20 minutes of quiet time again before the big climax of the movie. So that sets you up to be like, oh, these guys are tough to deal with. How are they going to deal with it? So I wouldn't so much call it a Western horror movie. It's more of a suspense movie that has some horror elements in it.
Yeah,
but it's got some pretty graphic.
It's got some messed up.
That kind of caught me off guard too. The way they described them as savages and troglodytes. Once you find out what they did, it's like, ooh, wow, that's pretty intense.
Yeah.
It's a little hard to watch in a couple of little instances.
So what did you guys think about the cast? Obviously, Kurt Russell is our star. How did he do?
I like I said, I'm a Kurt fan, and I don't think I've ever seen him anything that I didn't like him in. Whether no matter how he portrayed the character, because even in stuff like Death Proof or whatever,
I love that movie.
Where he's kind of a bad guy, it's still he made it work.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with.
You had Patrick Wilson, Matthew Fox.
Yeah, because I think he's gotten a little bit of a pigeonhole thing there for a while, playing like the broody guy or like that kind of stuff, and he really pulled it out for this part because it's so different than anything else he's ever played.
He plays like a sharpshooting ladies' man, but with some. He's got some swagger. He's a little bit flamboyant.
Yeah, but he's not over the top. They didn't. Thank goodness they didn't do that. Like, well, listen here.
If they wanted that, they could have cast Johnny Depp. But that's another story. And I like how you describe Matthew Fox as kind of being a broody guy in other films when his name of his character is Brooder in this film, which is
that's hilarious.
Which is great. Richard Jenkins, who he's been in a lot of movies, plays a lot of different kind of parts. Chicory is my favorite character in this movie. He's the one that really pulls the plot along, and of course he's just kind of the jabbering old man who really takes pride in the fact that he is the backup deputy of this small town. But he's loyal to a fault, and I really think that Chicory is kind of the hero of this film. He's the one that kind of holds everybody else together throughout the movie.
That's a good call.
We also got some minor side appearances from David Arquette and also Sid Haig and Sean Young. It's just a really great cast, I thought.
I liked the Sean Young, the way they played her part too, and there were people that were commenting online about, I didn't even know that was Sean Young until I saw the credits. It was a little different for her too, I guess, because she hasn't really done anything.
It's amazing. I mean, she's in the 80s, she was like in everything, and then she just, she had her what's the word I'm looking for? Breakdown, I guess. So that's Sean Young. That's the movie Bone Tomahawk. Coming up after the break, we are going to be joined by Laura, and we'll be reviewing The Revenant. It's next on Today's Talk, KWOC.